Hi, welcome to the Sew Along 2020 with GourmetQuilter with a very distinctly Australian flavour. We're making an Australian design quilt this time and I'm using some very Australian fabrics which are very delicious by Nutex. So what we're doing this time, we've been going for a few weeks now. We're up to part 7. So we're making a very Australian looking block this time. I think most people will recognise that as something Australian. It is a kangaroo. Hopefully it's recognisable as a kangaroo. So if you're getting the pattern already, you will have a download so that you can download all the instructions and the pattern ready to trace. So that's all there this time. So we've already gone ahead, we've made some of the backgrounds to take our applique, and then we're putting the framework around them. All that information is in the pattern. So what I've done this time is I've gone ahead, we're making 2 of these, one facing one way and one the other. I've done most of the work on these this time because we know what we're doing now. It's just kind of more of the same in that we're doing the applique block with the surround, we're doing applique, and I'm using a blanket stitch on the sewing machine to do that. And even some of the little tight things, we've had a little look at how to do some of that sort of applique. But this time I thought I'd go through another little aspect. Because we're using quite dark fabrics, it does seem that some of the little lines and things that we want that show up where arms or wings or whatever these things are that we're trying to make a little note of, we're not showing up very well. So what I thought I'd do is start using a much lighter coloured thread. So I've got a very pale grey thread in my sewing machine, whereas normally for the applique I'm using a much darker. I've got this thread here, this is what I've been using for all my applique. So I just thought we'd just have a little look at how I'm doing that, and then I'm going to talk about the framing around these 2 blocks as well before we go. But I just thought I'd show you how I'm doing the stitching. It's really very straightforward, and so I'll just go to the sewing machine to show you how to do that. So I'm using an open toe foot on my machine. I actually use this when I'm doing all the blanket stitch and applique type work, and it just allows me to see better where I'm going. If you don't have one, that's okay, but I find that that's very useful to have. So all I'm going to do is follow this little line. Where's my pencil? I'm just going to follow this little line that I've drawn with the white gel pen, but in stitching, because I've done it on these ones here, and I just feel that it emphasises that shape better. So I've actually reduced my stitch down shorter than usual so that it just does a little stitch, and then I'm just going to need to, like we do when we're appliquing, we just need to turn fairly frequently so that we get a nice smooth curved line. So this is really good for tight detail type things where we just need a little bit more emphasis, and because these fabrics are so busy and dark. So I'm just going to leave the needle down now and pivot and come back on that. So I find that if I do it double, it gives me a much better definition of the shape. But so nothing particularly hard about it, just take your time. But I just feel that that might be a solution. You can of course do all sorts of other things. You could just leave the gel pen, you could hand embroider, you could just stitch with a different colour thread as you're appliquing. Other than that, oops, we just need to end that off. So it's as simple as that really. We've just got a nice little marking now where that hind leg goes. So I'm pretty pleased with how my kangaroo is looking, but he does need some eyes and a little nose. So in the pattern there's some little features there. So when we trace it, we can mark them from the on the tracing piece, or we can just go for it with a marking pen. I'm just going to mark mine with a permanent marking pen because I feel that it's so small, but you could definitely hand embroider these. So I'm just giving him a little nose and then just 2 eyes. So his eyes are in this slightly wider part of his face here, and we might need to make them sort of larger than you might, just so that they stand out. And you may have a preferred way of putting a little face on your kangaroo, but I thought that that was probably better than no marking at all. So I'll just give it a little iron so that everything is now done. So there he is. He can see where he's going, he can smell what he's looking at, and he's got some arms and legs. Or if they are called arms and legs, I'll have to have a little bit of investigation on that. So that was it for block 7, and we'll see. Oh no, I was going to talk to you, sorry, about one more thing. On the framing of our blocks, when we put these pieces around the outside. This block has, if you look on the pattern, there's a little arrow here and an arrow here to where they're a different colour. This is because in the quilt, where they're occurring near an outside edge, we need the colour. So on this one here, the side is this grey. It's actually the same as the background of the applique, where these are more white. And on this one, we've got the grey across the top, and then the other three are white. So it does tell you that in the pattern, but just so that you know, if you're going to use the same positioning that I've used in the quilt, then those sorts of things start to become important so that you get them where you want them. So that was it for the framework of the blocks and for the block number 7, and we'll see you again for part 8.